G'day and welcome back. Today I thought I'd have a look at this Astor radio. It's very cute. I love this. It's just so 50s, early 60s, Jetsons. Yeah, just space looking. They've got the metal relief here. Yeah, it looks terrific. I love it. Now, I got this on eBay. I paid way too much. The people that sold it didn't quite tell me the condition of it. The photos they sent on eBay didn't really portray what it was really like. The model number for this is an APK. They started making these in 1958. This probably looks pretty good in the image you're looking at now, but it's not as good as it looks. This front panel used to be a cream colour. It still is cream. It's probably not too far off, actually, but it's gone brown a little bit. The back here is also supposed to be cream, and that's gone just a real browny coloured yellow. It's awful. You may be able to see how awful it looks at the back here. It's just an awful colour. Now on the front here you can see the knob, that's gone brown as well. The plastic in the dial isn't too bad. Considering the rest of the radio, that's not bad at all. It's got the specific Queensland dial on it, so each state wherever the radio is sold would have had the state dial on. The back is quite interesting. The output valve is sitting right here, and it's just heated this plastic up so much it's shrunk, and I think it's shrunk so much it's pulled in the back of the case. This side here is straight, and this one's got a curve in it. I don't know how I'm going to go with this. I might end up painting it. It's that bad. Now, another thing I noticed when I was trying to get the model number, this chassis is on an angle. These two screws are going into the side of the chassis, and the chassis is on an angle like that. I've never seen anything like it. Don't suppose it matters. Unusual for me, I've got the schematic before I've pulled the radio apart. This is a typical 4-valve receiver, very common in Australia. It's got the mixer here, the output valve and the rectifier. This valve is the IF amplifier, it's the detector, and they send the audio signal back through again to use it as a preamp, so it's does a few jobs there. It's not the most efficient way of doing it, but it does save them putting in a valve. Also notice it's got permeability tuning here, which was pretty typical of Astor at that time. It also has negative feedback, going back in the bottom of the volume control, there it is there. So overall a very typical layout for Astor and a lot of radios then. Now that's all the information I've got. That's the only page I've got. It's 455 kilocycles. I don't have any alignment details, but that won't be too hard. So I'll pull this apart and we'll have a look inside. I was right, that chassis is on an angle. It must be to get the tuning in the right place or something. Speaking of tuning, this is what's left of this one. It's not in good condition. That one's disappeared completely. The slug's up inside there, I hope. And this end's disconnected. I guess that's rubber, is it? Yeah, that's just disconnected, so I'm not sure what's happened there. Let's see if the slug's in there. Oh, crap. It's not there. It's gone. Well, I don't know what I'm going to do if I can't fix that. I don't know how I'm going to fix it. So I think that's a very good chance that that's the end of this radio. I'll flip it over and have a quick look underneath. If I can't get this tuning working, there's no point in continuing. I'll also make sure the transformer's working before I get too far down the track as well. Underneath here, absolutely typical, normal old wax capacitors. There's a slater there, or I think you call them wood lice. So that would indicate the speaker probably been chewed out. This capacitor's boiled out the top there. Apart from that, yeah, very simple. Just replace all these caps, and provided everything worked, it would have been a goer. I want to check the power transformer, but while it's upside down, I'll just check this output transformer here. So I'll just check the primary. It's no good going on if it's got too many things wrong with it. So that's no, that's 4 meg. Oh, that's no good. Let's take the valve out, but boy, it's jammed in there. I'm going to lift the wire off here and see if that must be open, I'd say. I've cut that wire and it's still reading 5 meg. So I would suggest this will be open. Yep, it's open alright. So that's 2 strikes. I'll test the primary on the transformer. Okay, that's okay. I pulled the rectifier valve out a minute ago and I've put power on it, so it's only going to here, it's not going into the radio. So that should be one of them, 207, and this should be the other half. 207. Okay, so the transformer's okay. So that saves the third strike. So at this stage we're up for an output transformer and a repair on this permeability tuning. I'll go and check what I've got in my spare parts bin. I don't know that I've got anything like that. Well, sometimes you can be lucky. Look what I've got. I've got an idea. I picked this up at the car boot sale. I hadn't even put it up on the rack with the rest of the stuff. It was still on the floor in the garage. Judging by the part number on this is an Astor set, and it was made in 53 by the look of it. So it's about 7 years earlier than mine, but this looks exactly the same as what's in here. Different design with how they've done the sled, but the coils look identical. Anyway, all I need is this bit. Now I've got an idea somewhere that these slugs are set to a dimension and not a frequency to start with. If I can find out that, we're on our way. Now this one's also got an output transformer, so I can probably use that one. That might be alright too. Okay, so we've gone from 2 strikes down to 0 if I can get these to work. Now that looks like a spring clip just holding that down there. Yeah, there we go. I thought this was a brass thread, but it's not. It's a spring, and I was worried that it was broken there, but it's just a brass springy thing. I think I've straightened that up pretty well. I'll see if it fits in the other radio. Okay, here goes. Oh yeah, it does. Nice. Okay, good. I'll take this out in the garage. I'm just going to go and blow the dust and stuff off so I can see what I'm doing. Then we'll come back and I'll try and mount this back in here and see if I can set it up. I blew all the dust off, but it's got a layer of sort of a wax on it or something that won't come off, so I had to spray it and eventually wipe it off with a cloth. But it looks pretty good now, so I can continue with what I was going to do. I have a bit of information on this permeability tuning. This is the HNQ model Astor, and this is the one I stole the slug out of. This is a pretty poor print, but what it's saying is that both those iron cores are preset at the factory to a dimension of 2.275 inches. And that's measured from the end of the former here to the end of the slug or the iron core. Now that instruction doesn't apply to this radio necessarily, but what I can do is put this former back in its rubber mount, fully mesh the iron core inside, measure it, and then make this one the same length. It also says on the bottom of the paragraph there's a little dot on the end here. This one's white. They've got a match, and this one hasn't got any colour on it at all. So whether they gave that idea away, I don't know. Of course, what will happen is if it's not right, they're not going to track the same. Now, I need to get this back in the grommet without breaking it. There it goes. Then you've got to wind the sled in until it's fully gone in the hole. Well, how are you going to measure that? Alright, I think the best thing I can do is just put it about there. This is the antenna coil, so at 600 kilohertz when I'm aligning it, I might be able to get an adjuster up the end here and just turn it a bit to get it to line up at 600. And then go up to 1400 or something, and I think there's a trimmer for this. In fact, there's one underneath, I can see it. So that should work. I'll just put this where it is here. I'll have to see what it does. That moves slightly when I put the clip on, so I'm just going to see if it'll turn. Yeah, it's kind of springy, but it's moving. How about that? Okay, we'll see how we go. I'll use this output transformer. It looks about the same, so it should work without any trouble. Alright, I'll just buzz this out and see what we get. Should be about 400 ohm. Yeah, 400 ohm. Cool. Okay, I'll take that out and transfer it over. Here's the replacement transformer, and what I've done is taken the windings out of the other transformer and put it in the original transformer, only because the other one was rusty, so this one looks a bit better. The other one fell to pieces when I pulled it out anyway, so might as well just change it over. I changed the capacitor while I was in there, a bit easier to get to now. So I'll bolt this in, wire it up, and we should be able to try it out. That's all wired up. I've just guessed where these two wires go. If it howls or screams when I turn it on, I'll have to reverse them. It's got negative feedback, so if they're the wrong way around, it'll scream. I also changed this capacitor here, and this one, which we looked at before, that's the coupling capacitor. This one's going straight from plate to ground, so I've had these before where they're short, and it just drags the power down. Alright, I think I'll flip it over and we'll put some power on and see what it does. I think we're ready to go. I've got it on dim bulb. This is an isolated power supply. I'll flick it on. I'll just look at the wattage. Bulb's not come on yet. This is a 100-watt bulb, so it's going to be a bit more lenient than other times. So, whoa! There it is. Yeah, I had a 50-50 chance. I'll just swap these two wires over. That should fix that. Let's have another go. Oh.
124, Billings 37, Ferguson on 20, and our latest inning from tab here at 62 and the home
there it is.
Hurricanes at 230, 5th inning, 1 0.
And we're right on start time, so they'll start to load a field of 8 to go on the first leg of the quaddie. Few hopes here. Lining up. A very smart 25, 26 around the...
We know what chalkboards are. Yes, we do.
The one at the desk next to me was a T-Rex, but... or, you know, people from different countries and that. Listening to?
They did a performance in the town and in big buildings and having interviews and
to play a gig.
yeah, and what already I think
That was pretty cool, considering the mess it was in when I got it. I was really ready to throw it in the scrap, but it's come good. It's very late now. I'm going to pack up for the night. I think tomorrow I'll replace all the capacitors and the electrolytics, check all the resistors while I've got the capacitors out, check the valves. Then I'll try and align it, see how I go with that replacement slug in there. So I'll turn the lights off and I'll see you in the morning. Good morning, I'm back. I thought before I change all the components, I'll take it out in the garage, I'll remove the valves, take it out in the garage and I'll give it a clean up, get the rest of it cleaned up. I'm going to take this plastic front off here, the speaker. I'll have a look at the speaker, I suspect it'll have holes in it. And then I'll come back and start changing the components. To remove the front from the radio, there's a screw at each end of the chassis. That comes off. I'll have to unsolder the speaker, and that'll be it. Alright, let's have a look. Yeah, it's as I thought. It's not too bad. I'll be able to repair that. I'll pull all the valves out as well. I'll go and clean this up and I'll be back in a minute. Before I watch the chassis, I might dose this in peroxide and stick it out in the sun for a couple of hours and see if I can lighten it back to something like it was originally. That little decal's come off, so that's handy. I washed the front of the radio. It's come up pretty good actually, but it's still yellow. Now, I'm going to RetrObright it with this hydrogen peroxide. It's for hair. You just buy it at the chemist or the pharmacy, whatever you want to call it. I've done it a number of times, so if you want more info, Wikipedia's got an article on it. So just Google RetrObright, you'll find it. I'm not sure what's going to happen to this aluminium, so I'm a bit worried about that. I'll go inside and seal this up. I'll try and make it pillow shaped so that the bag doesn't touch the plastic. You can get different shades if it's doing that. There it is. I'll leave it there for the rest of the day. I cleaned the chassis up. It's come up pretty good. But I've been thinking about this tuning and getting the adjustment right to start with. And I think I've worked out how to do it. These coils were moving around a fair bit, so I've just put a bit of adhesive on here just to hold them, to stop them moving up and down, because that's going to affect the alignment if they can move. The instructions said to measure from the end of the former to the end of the slug, so I pushed it all the way in and then thought, well, I'd have to start doing maths to work out how far in it was. Then I realised, of course, what they meant was from there to this end of the slug, through the hole. There's a stop there for the sled, so I'll put the sled on the stop. Now I've got my digital vernier caliper here. I'll put it in here And we'll measure this one. 2.271. And that one's too short. I should be able to turn that. That's it. So they are now both 2.271. I think they're perfectly aligned. I think the next job will be to change these capacitors. There's two electrolytics. I've got one here that'll replace that. There's another one that's an aluminium one that sits on top of the chassis. I will disconnect that and I'll put this one in. And once this capacitor is removed, I should be able to fit them both there. So I'll put the radio on. I'll spend a couple of hours doing this and we'll come back and see how I went. I've replaced all the capacitors. I replaced one resistor. I measured them all. They were all okay. They're a tiny bit high, but pretty good actually. So that's the casualty list. Not too bad. I tested the valves. Those two I discarded. This is the output valve. It's been running hot, so I got rid of that. It tested bad anyway. So I've got new ones in there for that. I'll just flip it over again. I'll put the valves back. I cleaned all the sockets for the valves too. I almost forgot this volume pot. I'll see if I can get some spray in it. Oops. I'm not keen on using these sprays, but anyway. Seems to have got in there. It's a bit easier to turn, so we'll give it a go. I'm going to give it a try, make sure it still works after I worked on it. I've put the shop speaker on it. I've got dim bulb on, and we'll just see what happens. And that looks normal. Wattage is normal. The globe didn't come on. There it is.
Line tossed up, yep. Mid-on's up, I'm taking him on. Start bolt short, and it's cut.
Well, that volume control's working perfectly with the spray, so that's good. I worry about that because some of them are made of cardboard and you put too much spray in there and the cardboard starts falling apart.
That's close out. Oh, it's hitting the top of the leg stump.
Well, that's working fine. I think I'll go to full power and just make sure it's going to work at full power and not start smoking.
The test match remain in the series. Australia needs 6 wickets. The more likely target seems India, chasing down 69 runs for victory. Quentin Hull and Dirk Nannis with you.
And we've got 25 watts. I would think that's about right, 26. Well, there's not much I can do now. I can do the IF alignment here. I need the front panel here to put the scale on so I can do this induction tuning here. And I should have that back tomorrow. In the meantime, I can just do these 2 IF cans and then tomorrow I'll do the rest of it. I'm all set up to align these IF transformers. I also got the alignment instructions for this set. I went to Kevin Chant's website and it's on there, of course. I don't know why I didn't go in the first place. I got it from another site. Anyway, so I've got the alignment instructions and it's exactly the same as any of these Astor radios anyway. I've got my generator down in the distance there. I've connected the generator to pin 7 of the mixer valve, and that's the grid in from the antenna. It also says to move this sled fully anti-clockwise, so I'll do that. I've got my analog meter here as well. That's connected to the plate of the output valve, and it's got a 0.01 capacitor there. There's the IF transformers, and we should have a signal if I turn the volume up. Alright, I'll just switch the dummy load in so we don't have to listen to that. Now I started to align it, I forgot to put the camera on, but these were all stuck, solid. So I've sprayed a bit of WD-40 down there, because that's a light oil, and just move them back and forth, and they're freeing up, so I think we're okay. Yeah, they come good. Okay. Alright, I'll turn it back on and start the alignment again. Okay, here we go. Now these are all going to be way out now because I mucked around with them. It's still tight. Okay, that's very tight, but I got there. Oops, I'll turn that off. Turn that off, then turn it back on again. What's going on? I'm trying to adjust this IF here, number 1, and the needle's all over the place. Something not right. That stopped working. I'll put the sound back on. Oh. Okay, something wrong there. I'll just squash that. Yeah. I think that's got a problem inside. Alright, I'll take the can out. Okay. This should just clip out. There we go. I've put a little mark on there just to mark where the red one was, just so they put it back together the same way. This is the wire that's intermittent here, and if I wobble it, you can see where it's green there going into that little black blob. It's broken there. Ah, there it is there. Okay, so I'll have to find the wire. There it is. I think it's corroded. It's all green. I'll have to get up close with a magnifying glass and try and reconnect that. Shouldn't be too hard. Here's the repair I've done. I've soldered a bit of heavier wire onto the lug here and then ran it up between the plastic mounts and wrapped the old wire around it and soldered it on. So it's not terribly pretty, but it'll work. Having said that, I better check it. I've got it set. Yeah, that's okay. So that's now working. Now I wound this slug back too. It was right down the end. So I'll start about there somewhere, see if we can align it. Alright, I'll put it all back together and try aligning it again. Yeah, it's all wired up and ready to go. I've got the radio on and it's working. So I'll adjust this one first and see how far I need to go. I wound this one all the way out, so it could be well out. So I'll turn it up. I'll turn this sound off and see what happens. That's it. Alright, so I wound it in a little bit. I don't think it was in as far as it was, so I'll do the lower transformer while I'm here. So it's the bottom one of number 2 transformer. Can't move it. This one's tight now. It was loose for a second. It's coming good. There we go. Alright, that's done. This is the top of number 2 transformer. That's about it. Okay, so this is the top of number 1. I'll just do this one. That was right on. Alright, that'll do. Now, as usual, I'll go back and just do those a couple more times, make sure they're spot on, and that'll be it for the IF transformer alignment. It's pretty late now. I've got to go and have my tea or dinner, so I'll come back in the morning and we'll do it all again. Now, this front fascia here has been in the sun for a day, so I'll see how it went. Well, it looks great. That looks really good. Here's the knobs. Here's the 2 knobs, but they haven't changed much at all. I wonder if they're supposed to match the back panel and not the front fascia here. Anyway, I'll go and wash all this off and we'll have a closer look. I was pretty impressed with the way the front came out, And as I said, I think these knobs are designed to match this. So this potentially could look this colour. So what I thought I'd do is do the RetrObright on this as well and see how it comes up. My original idea was to repair the damage here and paint it. But if I can get it back to its original colour, I'm happy to leave it like that. And this bit of damage in the back's insignificant really. So I'll cover it in the hydrogen peroxide and we'll have a look tomorrow, see what it looks like. I've got the clear plastic dial plate in the lathe here. I'm just going to try and clean it up by sandpapering it and then smoothing it out with polishers. It's got a lot of small scratches on it, so I'll just try and get rid of them. It is slightly discoloured, and if all goes bad, I can make a new one, I think. I've got some wet and dry here. I'm using cutting compound because I don't want the lathe to rust up. I've been doing that for 5 minutes now and I don't think it's getting very far. This is 220 grit paper. It should be ploughing into it, but it's not doing much. I'll do it a little bit more, then I'll put a finer paper on and we'll see what it comes up like. I'm just using some polish here to try and take the sandpaper scratches out. Well, it doesn't look any better than what it was. It's got some of the scratches out, I guess, but generally it's not much better than it was. I'm going to attempt to make a new dial lens for the radio. The other one's really not good enough. I'll see how I go. If it doesn't work, I'll have to use the old one. So I've just mounted a bit of perspex here. It's about 3mm thick, or 1/8 of an inch. So I'm just going to machine the outside of it. It's just got to be round and have a hole in the centre, so it couldn't get it much easier. Alright, that should be it. Yeah, that's it. Now, I know it looked like it was wobbling everywhere, but the centre hole is okay. This is a little bit out here, but that's not going to make any difference to the finished product. I'm just going to have a go at polishing or rounding the edge there a bit. That edge has come up very good, so I'll just measure it, make sure we're still right. Okay, that's good. I have to demount this now, and then I've got to try and make the centre the right size. I've got to make a recess in there for this washer to fit in, so I've mounted it in the chuck here. Some tape there to protect the edges, I hope. So I'm going to try and machine it. I don't know how this is going to work. And I've got it spinning the opposite direction too. I've machined that, and this little washer should fit in there. Bit of luck. Yeah, oh, that's perfect. Okay, good. Now I've got to make this hole 15.5mm. This boss has to fit in there, so it's just that little ridge there has got to go inside. I've got a boring bar on here now, so we'll just try and bore a hole on it. Alright, that's it. 15.6 I needed. Alright, so hopefully that'll fit. Yeah, that's it. Perfect. Great, okay. So I think I can take this out. I'll take this plastic off. I've got to put a red line on it. And that's about it. I think we're done. I need to paint a red pointer mark on this dial I've made. And I've used some masking tape here. It's a very flexible, plasticky sort of tape. And I've just filled it with paint. Now I'm going to take it off. It's not dry. It's not wet. It's probably been 20 minutes. I just don't want it to sort of rip the paint off as I go. That looks pretty good. Okay, got a bit of red there. I can get that off. There it is. Oh, that's good. Yeah, okay, great. Okay, I was a bit nervous with that. The next thing to do is the RF alignment on this radio, but I can't do that till I have the front panel on. And I've got the front panel here, and I've put on the sticker there for the decal, the dial, and it looks fantastic. That has come up so well. Now before I can do that, I need to fix the speaker. I looked at the speaker the other day and it's got little holes everywhere where the beasties have been eating at it. Now the holes in this area here, which is the diaphragm part of it, is no real problem. You can just patch them up. The issue is these ones on the ribbing here, which is the suspension, and it allows the diaphragm to move in and out. If you inhibit that diaphragm excursion too much, you'll lose your base, because the base obviously has the greater excursion. So I've got to try and make a flexible join here, or a pair. So for that, I've got a T-bag here. I'll just cut out tiny little patches, put them on there, and then try and glue them on. I'll work on this larger hole first. I've made a little patch out of a T-bag, and that'll sit on there. I've just left the end on there, so I've got something to hang on to. I'll use this liquid electrical tape. It's rubber. It never really dries hard, so it's quite good. It's flexible. So I'll just put some on here. All right. Oh, it didn't work, did it? All right. Whatever. Let's get a close-up of it there. It's followed the rib pattern perfectly, so yeah, pretty good with that. I'll let that just dry for 5 minutes, then I'll just put another thin coat over there, and that'll be it. I'll just leave it like that. There's another one here. I'll just do that one as well. Yeah, that looks alright. Once again, I'll just let it dry a bit, and then I'll put a thin coat of the rubber over the top, and that'll be fine. For small holes like that, I'll just dab some on there. It'll fill it up. So for ones like these, I'll put a bit of T-bag over these as well and fill them up, and I'll come back when I finish. I'll have a look at the finished product. I've finished all the holes. I've put 2 coats on. I'll let it dry for a couple of hours, and it'll flatten out. It'll look much better than it does now. While I've got that liquid electrical tape out, I'll do something else with it. This output transformer's got about 180 something volts on it, so I'll just put a bit over that. It's right at the back of the chassis. It's easy to touch. That's covered that bare wire now, so that's a bit safer. I've mounted the speaker back in, and I've put the fascia back on the front of the radio chassis. So I'm going to do the RF alignment now. Now the first thing I need to do is set this dial pointer. To set the pointer, the first thing you do is wind this anti-clockwise until that sled is right on the stop. And you loosen these 3 little screws in the front here. And I should be able to rotate that around now. There it goes. And there's a little point there, little dot. We'll line it up with that. Okay, so I've done the 3 screws up there. I've put the knob on just to make it a bit easier to turn. I'll just see if that is right, and that's spot on. Excellent. Now the next step is to set it at 1000 kilohertz, and there's a dot there, and I think it's the one to the right of IP. So that should be 1000 kilohertz. I'll set my frequency meter to 1000 kilohertz or 1,000,000 hertz. Now I've got that speaker on mute. I'll just put it on. Alright, so the signal's there. I'll just see how far away we are. So it's about there. So it's, golly, it's a needle width away. Anyway, we'll adjust it anyway. I've got it on that 100,000 kilohertz mark again. This couldn't get any easier. There's a trimmer there for the oscillator and a trimmer for the antenna. I'll adjust the oscillator first, the antenna, go back to the oscillator, probably go back to the antenna. So I'll start with the oscillator. That's about it. Align the antenna with that one. Now that was the slug that I replaced, so measuring it, it got it so close. Very good. That's all there is to the RF alignment. I will check both ends of the band to make sure they're accurate. There's 2 dots on this dial. That one's 17, and I think that's 535. That's the tuning range of this radio, so I'll assume that's what they are. So if I put that on 17, and put my meter on 17, my generator I mean, See if we've got a signal. It's a little bit out, it's not too bad though. So I'll go down to 535. Change this to 535. There we go. Whoops. Oh, I need to get rid of that one. Hang on. Sound on. Well, that turned out short on both ends. So there's no adjustment to make the band longer so that it reach down here. There's virtually nothing you can do, and me doing that test is pointless because I can't change it. When this radio was built, 4QR was on 590. So if I change this to 590, oops, there you go. I'll just turn the speaker on and see if it tunes in. So where's that? That's not bad, is it? Alright, let's turn the speaker off again. I'll go to 4BH, which is up the end here. Now it's moved down here somewhere now, but back in the day when they made this, 4BH was right at the end. I think it's 1390. 1390, there you go. So I'll put the speaker on. There it is. And that's, wow, that's right in the middle. Okay. So my little test at 17 and 535 was meaningless. It's still tuning in the stations where they need to be, and that's good enough for me. I'll just clear all the gear off it and put the antenna on, just make sure it does work. I've no doubt it will. I've wired its own speaker in, so see how it's going. Got the power on. Nothing else at that end.
I think applied to him. I wouldn't say it.
Now that's where 4BH is now.
Maybe you could run chip championships in there or something.
We're looking at anything.
Anything, yeah, anything that turns a quid.
Is what it is, you know. So I think the main, I suppose the main point is we're just after discussions and
John Collins is my guest. We'll take a call, John. Listen to this. So Nick from Brisbane, you're connected to the music.
Yeah, so that's working. That's working fine. As usual, there's a fair bit of noise in here that's getting into it, but it's working fine. And it picked up 4BH loud and clear, which is pretty unusual. It's very hard to get normally. I think we're getting close to the end of this. The outside case is still out in the backyard, so I'll have to go and rescue that. I've got to fit the new dial, so with the dial on and the case on the back, it's pretty much done. I'll go and see if the case is out there and hasn't melted, and we'll have a look at that. Oh, wow, look at this. That is fantastic. This has been out for, it's been out for a day and a half at least. We've had absolutely no sunshine. It's worked, look at that. That's like new. Goodness. I'll go and wash it off and we'll have a good look at it. I've washed it and I just polished it with a bit of brass, so I think it's probably a little darker than it used to be. It's got more of a pink colour inside, but gosh, it's not far off it, so yeah, it looks good. It looks really good. I guess I can fit this on now. I'm just about to put the back cover on, and I hope it goes on. I think that's it. I was waiting for it to clip inside the other one, but it doesn't seem to. I fitted one of Carl's fantastic white cords. Looks terrific. Oops, that's got to go in there. There we go. It's just got these two little screws holding it now. Now, does that look right up there? Yeah, I think it does. Yeah, that's okay. Good. Well, there it is. Golly, it's good. If I picked anything, I would say this knob just needs to be polished to get rid of that dark stain on it. And I still need to do the glass. I'm just going to leave it till tomorrow morning, make sure it's totally dry. So until tomorrow morning, I'll say good night. Good morning and welcome back. Today I'm going to try and replace this dial with the one I made, and I'll see if it's going to work or fit or even look any good. So I'll just start by removing the old dial, and it's just 3 screws. There's a boss here that the disc mounts on, and I need to adjust the depth, I think, so I've put that on there. Yeah, look, it's sticking out too far. There's a big gap there. So I need to move that back probably 2 or 3 mil. You can get to the screw. Another one there somewhere. There it is. So I'll just move it back a little. I'll try that. That looks better. Probably still go back a little bit more. I'll go back another millimeter. That's good. Very good. Now, having moved that boss so far in may mean the knob will stick out a little bit from the glass cover, plastic cover. I'll take the plastic off the back here. I'll turn this fully counterclockwise. There we go. I'll do this up so they're just touching. And I should be able to rotate that around and line up that dot again. Alright, I'll tighten the screws. I'll just check that still lines up. Yeah, it's pretty good. Okay. Alright, I'll take the rest of this paper off, or the plastic. Put the knob on. Yeah. Wow, that looks really good. You couldn't tell that was a replacement one. Now it's got a mark here that's on the inside. I should have cleaned it before I put it on. But I reckon that's good. Yeah, nice. Alright, fabulous. Last night I went out and polished the front of this knob and got rid of that dark spot that was on there. There's another radio completed. This is an Astor from 1958. It's a model APK, built in Melbourne by Astor, and it has come up fantastic. It looks brilliant. This radio was full of disappointments. I got it on eBay, it looked good. I opened it, it looked terrible. I put it in the corner, I didn't want to see it again, I'd wasted $100. And then I pulled it apart, there's parts missing from the tuner, the output transformer, and at that stage I didn't think I was going to be able to fix it. But with a bit of luck I found some parts for it and restored it. It works good. I did the RetrObright on it and it looks fantastic. There's still some damage on the back here, but that's just part of the aging process. But it's all original. I didn't change anything apart from this glass here. As I said, I'm just amazed with it, and it's come up better than I ever thought it would. Anyway, enough chatter. I hope you enjoyed watching this, and I hope you can join me for my next radio adventure.